In December 1998, a toy salesman named Ty Warner looked out at his 250 employees gathered for a holiday party and made an announcement. He was giving them all Christmas bonuses equal to their entire annual salaries. Thanks to the success of Beanie Babies, his company had just cleared $1.4 billion in sales for the year, and Warner had become the richest man in the American toy industry. His second gift to the staff was a stuffed red bear with a number 1 stitched onto its chest. Inside the tag, it noted that only 253 of these specific bears had been produced. Employees cheered, partly out of sentiment, but mostly because they knew exactly what they held. Within weeks, those $5 toys were selling on the secondary market for $5,000 apiece. The entire country was exhibiting this exact behavior. By that year, roughly 64% of all Americans owned at least one Beanie Baby. Adults were hoarding them in massive plastic bins and sealing their heart-shaped paper tags inside hard-shell protective lockets, treating these $5 plush animals as serious financial assets. The buying frenzy was encouraged by a cottage industry of self-published price guides. Authors projected out 10-year values, estimating that a toy bought today could reliably pay for a child's college tuition in the future. But how does a multi-billion-dollar market built on this degree of hype suddenly run in reverse? To understand the crash, you have to understand how Warner controlled the market. He used a tactic called retirement. Without warning, he would stop shipping a specific animal and cancel all outstanding orders for it. This graph shows how that strategy impacted values. Through 1998, a Beanie Baby sat on a store shelf for $5. Upon retirement, artificial scarcity caused the secondary market price to immediately shoot upward, guaranteeing a massive return. But watch the data when we extend into 1999. Warner had aggressively ramped up factory production, pouring millions of new toys into the market. When these overproduced animals were retired, the line didn't budge. In January of that year, the expected price bumps completely failed to materialize. The physical supply and circulation was simply too high. Artificial scarcity is a powerful psychological tool, but it immediately loses its grip the moment physical supply visibly eclipses the buyer's capacity to hoard it. As prices stalled, the ecosystem supporting the craze had to react. Previously, the specialized magazines and price guides had served to validate the investment thesis, feeding a continuous loop of anxiety that collectors would miss out on the next big payout. Now, with values flatlining, these gatekeepers faced a credibility crisis. To maintain the trust of their readers, the very publications that helped build the bubble started broadcasting panic, openly warning collectors about the massive oversupply sitting on store shelves. The mania eventually moved from the gift shop to the browser. Platforms like eBay took what had been a localized phenomenon and scaled it globally, exposing millions of novices to the competitive pressure of a live auction for the first time. This visualization shows the fatal flaw in that system. Before the internet, a collector might think a toy was rare because they couldn't find it in their local town. But by May 1999, the actual available supply floods the screen. There were nearly 80,000 Beanie Baby listings active on eBay at exactly the same time. Total market transparency destroyed the illusion. The internet allowed hoarders to finally see clearly that their prized, supposedly rare investments were actually incredibly common. Seeing the hype fade, Warner attempted one final desperate market manipulation. He released a black bear with "The End" embroidered in gold on its chest, and announced that on December 31st, 1999, every single Beanie Baby would be completely retired. It was a transparent stunt. Just weeks later, he reversed the decision, putting it to an online vote and announcing the toys would return. The move permanently shattered the collector's trust. The organic magic was gone, replaced by obvious corporate engineering. The market reaction was brutal. With no new buyers willing to enter, the upward momentum completely stopped. Terrified speculators began dumping their inventory simultaneously, sending prices into a violent, irrecoverable tailspin. Within months, the contrast was staggering. Toys that were once carefully locked in protective plastic cases were being dumped wholesale into dollar stores, or, in the case of a few enraged former investors, tossed into backyard bonfires and burned. When a financial asset's value is entirely divorced from its actual utility, it survives on momentum and belief alone. Once the physical supply catches up and that underlying trust breaks, gravity returns the asset to exactly what it always was, a $5 toy.